Hi, my name's Sabrina. Today I'm going to be talking about my anorexia story. It's quite a long old story. I'm 33 now, and it began when I was 9 years old. So imagine that mental health wasn't heard of really when I was 9. So it wasn't assumed that I had anorexia nervosa. So I went through lots of testing for cystic fibrosis and lots of other things to why I wasn't gaining weight and things like that. My childhood was just engulfed with anorexia, and yeah, to think of being 9 to now, it makes me feel really sad. And I think the main message I want to give you is that probably it isn't about getting better, because everybody thinks that to be living a good life or a normal life or a happy life, that's the main thing. Are you happy? Is that you've got to be recovered, fully recovered. And I can honestly, hand on heart, say that I'm not fully recovered. I still have my hang-ups. I still have my bad days. I still have really good days. And I still question a hell of a lot of things. But I'm happy. And I live a functional life. I'm a mum of 2, which, if you'd have said that to me, I would never have believed you that I was going to be a mum. I'm married to a really lovely man who completely gets me and understands me. My life isn't perfect at all. No, I don't want you to think it is. I really do have days where I question everything, and I've just had to learn to use techniques that make my life easier to live with. So I do a lot of CBT techniques throughout my day, and if I know something is making me emotional or perhaps a little, like, not pretend like I show emotion, but like irrational thoughts, because that is something that I've seemed to struggle more with now, is anxiety and blowing something out of control in my mind. So what I tend to do is put whatever thoughts I'm having is in a little box, and then when I get home and I can discuss it with Rich or think through it rationally, that's when I do it. Food can be still a problem for me, but I'm in control mostly now. Like, if anyone says that they never question anything they eat when they've struggled with anorexia, I think they're probably trying to tell themselves that, because I honestly have days where I'm like, Sabrina, snap out of this, you got this shit, you've got your shit together, like, come on. And my biggest inspiration now with my children, I am so lucky to have those children. They are my world, and probably a lot of people are really chuffed to be a parent, but for me, I am honoured to be a parent. They're more than ever that I could ever imagine having. I was told that I would never ever have children, probably because I'd messed about so much and I didn't have a period till I was 18. I've got osteopenia from having anorexia for so long. So yeah, my children keep me on the straight and narrow, and if there's anything, I want to protect their mental health. I do not want them to go through what I've had to go through, ever, 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 because it is the hardest journey ever. And I know there's a lot of evers in that, but yeah. So, basically, my story started when I was 9. My grandpa died really suddenly, and was really close to him. He was my world. We used to see him every day. My dad used to work really long hours, and my mum had 4 children, so my grandpa was just always around, and my mum didn't drive, so my grandpa would do a lot of the ferrying about. And then he was there one day, and then he had a few heart attacks, and then a big one, and then he wasn't, and I couldn't manage that. I wanted everything to stay the same. So I wanted to stay the same, because in my little mind, immature mind, I thought if I stayed and looked the same, then he would look down and be able to see me and look after me. And yeah, from that's where the anorexia stemmed from, which now, looking back, is something really like, you know, a lot of people deal with grief, but I'd never lost anybody that special to me. So all the special things that he used to buy me, like the crisps and the chocolate, so he always used to go and get his pension, and it was a one-stop shop, so we'd get 5 chocolate bars for £1, and then we'd choose our chocolate bars. And I just stopped having all the sweets and the chocolate and the cake, anything that I associated with him, I stopped having. And that's where it really like stemmed from. So for a long time I just carried on being the same weight, and exactly what I thought I was going to do. And then as time went on, I don't know, I suppose the pressure, like I had a name that was like Little Miss Perfect because I always did really well at school and I didn't get told off and things like that. And I don't know, I think it was quite a lot of pressure for me to try and maintain all of that. And then when I was 12, I had a really bad asthma attack, and my dad saved my life in the kitchen. And when I woke up, I just remember someone sticking a needle in my hip and saying, "Welcome back, Lucky." And from that moment, I thought that good people died and bad people survived. And so I was 12 and I thought I was a bad person. So the anorexia like got worse, and my weight was crazy, like it really was. It just kept dropping, and I used to dance and do drama, and I loved that. And I think looking back, it was because I was somebody else and I wasn't like locked into this thought pattern all the time. So yeah, and it only dawned on me like the other day. So we just weighed my 6-year-old just to see what weight she was, because I don't know, the scales were there. I never weigh myself now. But she was 23 kilos and she's 6, and sometimes I look at her and think, crikey, you're thin. And I was 25 kilos at like 13 years old and taller than her. Like I wasn't much shorter than I am now. And it really hit home for me, like how terrible I must have looked, and how skinny I was, and how my body was trying to function on nothing. I had a bit of an obsession with Diet Coke, and I used to drink loads of Diet Coke, and you name it, I did it. And I don't know where I learned any of it from, because people around me generally were really healthy and ate really, really well. And like, when I look back, I thank my parents so much, because they went through so much with me. I was hiding food up my sleeve. There was backpacks full of food in the bottom of my wardrobe that my parents found. I was an obsessive exerciser, and I would just go up in my room and just do exercise after exercise, wake up ridiculously early before everyone else. Yeah, and that was my teenage years, really. I did end up going into an eating disorder unit. I was fed through a tube for quite a while, but the difficult thing for me, I think, was I knew what I had to do when I went to the eating disorder unit, just eat my way out. And I wasn't ready to talk about why I was like I was. So the first time I went in, I ate my way out. I was out in 6 weeks, and I was a healthy weight, but I wasn't healthy in my mind. So I went back to school after being out of school for a long time, and yeah, just spiraled back out of control, because until you're ready to discuss and work through why you're like you are, you can eat, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be better. So the second time I went back in, had a bit of refeeding, but I wanted to work through why I was like I was. And it wasn't for me just about being thin. Like, it was way deeper than that. Like, and it's still, to this day, I will hand on heart say that it isn't just about being skinny for me. Don't get me wrong, like, I don't know myself any different than like a small body, but when I was pregnant, I managed it. And yeah, I just cracked on with it. And when I was breastfeeding, like, I I just cracked on. I'm not, I'm still small now, but I have a small frame and my nan's quite small and things, so I think I'll follow her. Yeah, so when I went back in the second time, I was in there a long time, 2 years, and I didn't do what they wanted me to do, and I did it at my own pace. And because I'd never eaten a lot for a long time, to suddenly expect me to eat everything that was needed to gain 2.2 pound a week just wasn't something that I was able to do. And I was really aware that if I started a meal and I didn't finish it, then I'd still sit there. And for me, I felt like I was being punished for not being able to manage what was expected of me. So yeah, I just sort of took it at my own speed. Yeah, and I was a resident for a long time. I don't even know how many months, but I didn't feel like I was making progress, and I was missing my family. Like, I'd been out of the family unit on and off for about 4 years, and I come from a big family, so I decided I wanted to go to be a day person, so I went 2 days a week. And if I'm honest, that was the making of me. Like, I was coming up 16, I think, and it was a real, like, I don't know, a real awakener for me. I was just trembling, like bumbling along, Wasn't really making progress, but I was holding my own weight. And they wanted me to go to an eating disorder place in London. But I knew, honestly, that wasn't going to help me, because I would learn new behaviours and things that I perhaps didn't know. And again, I knew that a lot of these girls that were in these units maybe have had anorexia for a couple of years, whereas I'd known more of my life with anorexia than I had without it. So for me, it was a lot more deeper. And I think if you've had an illness for that long, it's not just going to be a quick fix, it's going to be longer. So I went for the assessment, I got offered a place, but my parents felt the same as me and felt like it was too far away, and that it wasn't going to benefit me. So ironically, I mean, I had my 16th birthday. A consultant said that if I didn't really get myself together, my heart rate was really low and I'd probably die. So what did I do? And I've still got this philosophy today, and I don't know if it's the right way. If you die doing something you enjoy, then it's not a waste, is it? So it's my 16th birthday. I really wanted to go to Blackpool on the big roller coaster. So my dad and my family said, okay, let's crack on, let's do it. Because we'd had such a fight. So actually, would it be that bad? And I think my dad was like calling my bluff, because it was like a make or a break. Would it really kick me into touch, or would it kill me? Luckily enough for me, it didn't kill me. But it gave me a little taste of what I could have to come. And I saw an advert for a job, like, on the way home one day, for a pot wash at a local pub. And so I went for the job on the way home from the assessment from that eating disorder place, which we'd already turned the place down. And I was late, and I remember getting there, and I went in, had the interview, and I explained I was really honest and saying I was in recovery from anorexia, but I really wanted a purpose. So I got offered this pot washing job, and I did 3 evenings a week, and I earned about £241 a month. But honestly, it was the making of me, like having a purpose and some independence and bringing in my own money. Like, it gave me the confidence to then go to college, and I walked out of school with no qualifications, because I never went to school enough. So I went to college and did my GCSEs, and there was a couple of evenings I think I had to do, and then some days, and I worked really, really hard, and I just knuckled down. I really knuckled down, and I don't know, slowly my weight started to gain, and food didn't become such a issue to me. And I was still having a little bit of therapy, but generally I had the techniques, I just needed to find a way to help them in my head. And slowly I managed, and I was progressing. I felt like I was making use of my life, and I wasn't just the girl with anorexia, and people didn't know me. And working at the pub, I then progressed to like doing the puddings and stuff like that, and I was tasting new foods and getting more confidence with saying like the food's ready and stuff. And I ended up getting a moped because I was finishing late, and again my dad said, look, Sabrina, I can't keep coming out and getting you, like I will get up for work at 5, this is getting too much. And I think he thought I'd quit, but I said okay, I'll get a moped. And so then again I had my own independence, and yeah, and I just grew from strength to strength. I passed my GCSEs, which I was amazed about. I did 5 or 6 I think, and I passed, which was amazing. And from then I did my AS levels, same way. And I ended up doing my MVQ2 in chefing, which is weird for someone that's had such a long history of eating disorders. And yeah, I loved it. I really enjoyed like the buzz of the kitchen, the busyness, the focus, the routine. But I carried on doing my ASs alongside it, because I think deep down inside I always knew I wanted to like make extra something of myself, and chefing probably wasn't the thing that I'd end up doing for life. So yeah, I ended up getting my ASs, and I applied to university and went and did my nursing, children's nursing, and again, like did that okay, and my confidence grew, and my weight was good, my mental health was fairly good, as long as I was busy, as long as I didn't stop and like not be too bored. And yeah, that was my way of dealing with it. But I knew my triggers, and I knew that stress triggered me, and if something wasn't quite working in my head like the way it should be, yeah, that was a little trigger for me. But honestly, time and patience with yourself is really, really important, because yes, I'd have days where I'd think, bloody hell, Sabrina, you cocked up today. But it's having a person that will understand you, and my dad was is that person. And then I was lucky enough to meet Rich, and Rich is an amazing bloke, and he listens and understands me, and anything I need to say, he listens and never judges. And sometimes he'll go, Sabrina, you're being irrational, like completely say it, but you know that it's probably not the way it really is in your head, so let's work through it together. And that's really, really important to me, to have someone that I can talk to. And I've been through a death of a really close person again, and I haven't had the same triggers. If anything, I was amazingly strong, and I was able to do a speech at the funeral. And I think the difference was I just had my first daughter, and it was like a focus for me. But I had the mindset I wasn't going to crumble, because people thought I was going to, and I thought, no, I can do this. I am strong, and I am worthy of like everything I've worked for. And I think that's the other thing. You have to believe that you're worthy. And up until that point, I probably didn't believe I was worthy when I was a teenager. And I still to this day don't have loads of friends. And I now don't particularly, I do care what people think of me, but I don't always, like, I just don't need everybody's approval all the time. And I think as a teenager, I really did need people's approval. And now I'm a bit like, I'm happy. I'm really, really happy with just bumbling along. And I think lockdown was amazing for me. Like, a lot of people really struggled. Made my life as simple as possible. I felt like I was being a good mum, even though the bloody homeschooling was really, really, really stressful. I felt like I had time with the people I really, really loved. My home, I just became really proud of what I'd achieved, and I was able to do my career as well. yeah, I think I thrived in lockdown, and we've got a lovely little dog that I'm just absolutely in love with. And I never thought I would be like in love with a dog, because I'm not really like a homey person or like a doggy person, but I just love her to bits. And yeah, so lockdown's been really good, and it's really made me evaluate like what's important to me and all the things that have made me stressed, and perhaps like highlighted my anxiety over the last year. So the rushing and thinking I'm going to be late for the kids, for the school run and stuff, that gave me loads of stress, which perhaps I wasn't aware of until lockdown. So I've changed my job to hopefully make it better for me. Yeah. But yeah, anorexia has been a long old job for me, and I would, you know, if you've got any other questions that you'd like me to answer, I would be really happy to answer them. But I am living proof that you can have a right shit time of it and be living. So however low you are and however hard you think this fight is, any fight is only worth, a hard fight is the best fight, because life is actually all right. And I know my story is really different to anybody's. I'm not saying that, you know, it's going to be an easy fight, because it isn't. But if you want to do it, you can do it. Okay, so just believe in yourself. Thanks for watching. I'm sorry if it went on a bit and I chat on, but that is generally me. If you enjoyed it, like and subscribe. Thank you. Bye bye.